This episode of the SwitchCast is produced by Sergio Gonzalez, our most honored patron and highborn Switch Kaiser.
Switch Kaiser.
Kaiser. Hey everybody, I'm KC.
And I'm JV.
And this is the SwitchCast, the podcast for the Switch enthusiast. And we really are Switch enthusiasts here. We're beyond just being fans. We're not fanboys. We're not just casual dalliances with the Switch. We are true, soul-filled enthusiasts for this medium of entertainment. Isn't that right, JV?
Yeah, I feel like using the label enthusiast makes us sound more like connoisseurs.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it makes us feel a bit classier, a bit elevated, above mere fanboy.
I will say the most recent comment on the on our YouTube videos was someone said to us just a little while ago, "You guys are a breath of fresh air."
Breath of the Wild.
Oh, it was to the Breath of the Wild episode we did a while back. It was an older episode, so.
Well, there you go. Whoever made that comment, thank you so much.
And how are you doing this fine week, sir?
I've been in a very competitive spirit lately. We've been having a lot of face-offs within the community, and that's just a wonderful change of pace.
Oh, okay. Yes, I do. I can't wait to talk about that, definitely, because I've had some very great experiences competing, and some that I was like, yeah, no, I don't need this.
Oh, you know me. I'm a very when it comes to games, if I get into something, I really have to get as into the competitive spirit of it.
Oh yeah, no, I
as
totally
in,
get that.
Metas and all that stuff. It's part of my thing.
Yeah, but we also had. So yeah, speaking of that, I just want to do a little cast meta here. We did have our first organized Mario Kart tournament last Saturday, and big shout out to Sergio Gonzalez for organizing that and bringing everybody together. And even though we were both only able to actually be there for maybe like an hour part of it each, it was an 8-hour long window for the tournament. And since we couldn't be there, Sergio stepped up and he kind of took the reins, and he was there for pretty much the entire time, I think. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Sergio, for being there to help out with that.
I love your name pronunciations.
Oh, well, thank you, Casey.
We do have more, though, competitions coming. Not only do we have... you already set up a weekly tournament just to auto kind of kick off every Saturday, didn't you, or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a SwitchCast Weekly Cup that you can join every Saturday evening just to play with the SwitchCast fan base and the SwitchCast community. So
now you say evening, but it starts at 1 o'clock Eastern time.
Yeah. And it goes late into about 9 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah.
So afternoon to evening.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. I'm very interested in discussing how the tournament system in that works, but for now we'll just leave it at it's fun and you definitely want to take part in it.
Yeah, and it's just a great place for the community to gather every week to race off, even if it's not anything serious or for a prize. It's fun to gather for that.
Exactly. It was a great excuse just for everyone to even use a little of the chat. Mario Kart has really kicked off a ton of tournaments. I mean, not just in our site. Obviously, a lot of other communities have been doing it too. We're doing a local tournament, just a local meetup for the Switch Fest. And what is it? Switch and Play NYC, the other cool group by Shell Shock there. He's always doing, great meetups. And I think it's a great chance for anyone who's been kind of itching or thinking about maybe getting together some kind of meetup group or some sort of regular play group for these things. This is it. There's no better jumping off point than Mario Kart.
Oh, absolutely. It's just such a game that's both accessible to a lot of casual players, yet still can get you into that competitive spirit. So,
Oh, and we finally got in our Orsley stuff that we were waiting, the accessories that were sent to us by Orsley.com. You grabbed a few different things, didn't you?
Yeah, so I did get a bunch of stuff. It took a little bit of time for us to get them specifically, since we ordered them way in advance. But I got a really great tempered glass screen protector that I immediately applied onto my Switch.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm surprised at how easy to apply it was. And I think that's a pretty good example of a good tempered glass product.
I did record my first video review of one of the products. It was specifically not the Mario Kart wheels, but the steering wheels from Orsley that are most right now pretty much for just Mario Kart, and I guess you could use it for fast RMX as well. We just posted today on the homepage another print review, and this time it was of TumbleSeed. And we kind of I went to very depth about a lot of things that were, there's a lot of reasons to have reservations about that game. And I mean, a lot of things that I really liked about it too. And we'll talk more about that during playtime. But actually, it's the first time we got to use the mediocre rating. Like, I still gave it a thumbs up, but you were actually kind of meh on the game, or 50-50.
But yeah, I like that we have a bit of a system that allows us to be meh on a game, as opposed to absolutely loving it or absolutely hating it.
True. I guess we haven't talked about that before. We've decided our system. We're not going to do a point system. We're not going to do 1 to 10 kind of ratings. We decided the best for our purposes is either each of us at the end of every review, we'll do a KC's take and a JV's take, and you'll see whether we give it a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or kind of a middle thumb if we're not totally sold on it. And we feel that anything more specific than that really doesn't really have quite the right value. Like, really, can you rate a game? And if we gave Zelda a 9 out of 10, does that mean anything else that's a 9 out of 10 is as good as Zelda? It's kind of weird, Right.
Number ratings beg for comparison, and you just sometimes can't do that. Right. Within different genres or separate genres. I don't feel like it's really an accurate way to gauge games or give a summary of what the quality of a game is. I
think a much more valuable rating is, if you listen to the show, you know what kind of a gamer I am, you know what kind of a gamer JV is, and I think you'll start to learn where each of us kind of aligns with your own tastes. So getting either JV or mine or both of our thumbs up will probably be the most interesting or possibly worthwhile analysis that you guys could take. Or maybe you know the exact opposite taste. You're like, nope, if Casey likes it, I'm going to hate it. And that's perfectly valid.
Yeah, and that means your reviews are still just as useful to those people. Yes. Just in an opposite way.
And not that I want to talk about it too much, but you did see that, it's interesting because it is tangentially related that they revealed that new
Nintendo 2DS.
Oh, that's right. The new Nintendo 2DS. That's right.
It's interesting that they released it. It's especially in the middle of pretty much nothing. Nothing's going on right now, but they took some time to announce this new product of theirs. And honestly, I kind of like how it looks, Casey.
I know. I agree to it. It really has a nice look. It is just a 3DS because it has the clamshell design to it. It just doesn't have the 3D. It seems like the right design for it at this point, if you're going to redesign it. And at $150, not too shabby,
Although I haven't touched my 3DS in almost months now, I was really tempted to pick this up. But I'm not going to, because obviously I have a primary focus, which is the Switch. But just looking at the quality of the product and its aesthetic, it's pretty appealing.
I also want to throw this out there. I'm not confident enough to make this a bet, but I am willing to say that I think there's a fair chance, in my opinion, that the next redesign or the next handheld only device that they release, that they make, will at least be Switch cartridge compatible.
Ooh, that is a claim. Interesting.
I think there's a good chance. I'm not saying it's definite, but I'm saying, you know what? The next redesign will probably be in a year or two. And I think that'll be about the time where they're like, okay, either the 3DS system family is finally, it's had enough remodels, we can let it go out, and here's the next system that is either Switch solely cartridge compatible, or it's something that's considered almost backwards compatible, and they'll have a slot that could contain either cartridge.
We'll see.
But that's the fun of you gotta just go with the gut, man.
And so we have a new Amazon link on our website. If you go to theswitchcast.com and click on Amazon on the right side, it'll take you to the Amazon website where you can purchase pretty much whatever you want. The difference being that if you go through our link, it'll give us a bit of a kickback regardless and not change the price of the products you're purchasing anyway.
Yes. This is kind of, a few people have asked me, I feel like after every episode, I get a couple of people, especially the Discord, who are like, Casey, is there any other way? We've given you a review. We're backers on Patreon and we've retweeted everything. Is there any other way we can help support the podcast? And I'm always trying to find, some little thing. This is the next thing. If you're going to buy anything, especially Switch related, but you can literally do anything. Yeah. Click that Amazon link before you start the shopping. And yes, that just helps us out for literally no effort. And it can be pretty helpful to us indeed.
Yes. It's just the beauty of it is that it doesn't add to the price of any of the products you're buying. It's just a nice little kickback for us without any real detriment on your side. All
right. So that is wrapping up all of our meta for today. Let's go right into playtime. Start talking about all the fun stuff we've been doing. This has been a very busy week of gaming.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, so I think we shouldn't hold off at all, and we should just start right off with the biggest title that we've been waiting to get our hands on, and we've probably been spending most of our time with this week, I assume.
Kamiko for Nintendo Switch.
Absolutely. That has been the...
Oh, yes. Man. No, we're actually going to talk about Mario Kart 8. Yes. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has been such a game changer for our community, Casey.
It has been. It has really... It's kind of been like that little missing gel, I feel like, that... Like, we've had a lot of fun times just, hanging out, talking, but it really has been that thing we've been looking for where we can all... Pretty much everyone owns it, and we're all playing it together as much as possible.
Right. It's definitely interesting how almost the tone of the Discord chat switched from being a single-player experience where we share our isolated gameplay and share our stories and talk about spoilers and things we find. But now, Mario Kart 8 has allowed us to play with each other, and now we're talking about experiences that we're sharing directly with each other.
Yeah, and it's so easy to get into. I gotta say, that's the first thing that I noticed this one, it came out with. The big thing was you didn't have to unlock any of the tracks, and it came with every race available and a whole bunch of characters, i.e., you don't have to grind one-player mode to unlock the stuff to play with people. You could go online the minute you plug it in and just start playing with everything that you would probably need. Maybe unlock some characters down the line or new wheels, that kind of thing.
Right. Now, as much as I actually prefer that everything is unlocked, I've actually heard some sentiment that people, actually wanted to unlock the tracks and wanted to unlock the modes.
Yes, actually a couple of my coworkers were telling me just today that they were a little disappointed that that everything was unlocked and that they liked, revealing that stuff over time by mastering the current tracks and getting, all the gold medals in the different circuits.
I can kind of agree with that. While I do prefer that things were unlocked for all the players that already had Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, I do sometimes miss the feeling of unlocking a new item or a new course. And it felt like there was more progression and there was more reason to play single player when I was unlocking stuff continuously.
I mean, I totally get that. In fact, I made a very similar argument when I was reviewing Voice, and I said that just like all the stages were unlocked, and I was like, I don't know where to go. I'm just kind of picking songs at random. I wish there was some progression method. Totally get that. If this wasn't a game that I was going to play 80% online, I mean, I think it's definitely a trade-off. If you are the kind of person who's going to be playing this, maybe, even if you're playing at 50% one-player mode, that unlocking is kind of a satisfying thing to have. I think that's the difference between the Switch and the Wii U version, and that the Wii U version, yes, it had online, but it was not as intensely multiplayer as this one is, with just the communities, the fact that we're bringing it to, around with us and just playing locally a lot.
Right. And I have to say, the local multiplayer experience for Mario Kart 8 is almost seamless. Well, I actually brought my Switch to work, and people who normally don't game or play multiplayer video games whatsoever brought theirs as well. And we got together, played Mario Kart wirelessly with 8 players.
Okay.
And it was such a beautiful, seamless experience on my side.
Now, I haven't actually gotten to play it local multiplayer yet. Tomorrow's I have a whole bunch of that planned, but I was interested to ask you then. So it is 2 players max per Switch, correct?
That's right. And while on our side, we didn't test that, everyone who played had their own Switch. So I don't know if there is any performance issues between sharing 2 players per Switch or 1 per Switch. When I did just 1 person per Switch for that number of players, it didn't have any performance problems really at all.
Okay. I did do 2 players on my Switch on the TV, but playing online. When we were doing the tournament, I had my friend over, and we were just, taking a break. We were biking most of Saturday, and we just took a break for an hour, and we sat down, and the 2 of us on my Switch joined the online group there. And I didn't notice. I mean, I got into tunnel vision. I forgot his half of the screen was even there.
Yeah.
But
which is good.
Yeah, but no, it definitely was seamless in that regards. And I will say, okay, so I do think it's interesting to talk about how this whole tournament mode works. It's different than I expected, but it's kind of an interesting option. Basically, it's not a system where it sets up brackets or anything like that where people compete and there's eliminations. It's basically a room you make for a finite amount of time that you set it for, and people just kind of join in, and the game matches them into groups as large as possible. But let's say you have like 20 people, it'll say, are you 4 here, you 5 are in this group, and the rest of you that are waiting, maybe you'll wait for one of those 2 races to end. And it just keeps shuffling you around, and it keeps track of the points you earn for your placement in different races. So you get first place, you get 10 points, whatever, and it tallies up your points throughout the window. So basically, we had the 8-hour window for our tournament. So if someone was playing all 8 hours, even if they weren't getting first place ever, if they were getting 4th place pretty often, 8 hours of 4th place beats a person who showed up for 30 minutes and just got always won every race. So It's more of a marathon kind of thing.
Right. And though I feel like if we narrowed down the time frame from 8 hours to maybe 1 hour or 30 minutes, and everyone had the exact same number of races from the start to finish, I think that's a little bit better of an indicator of skill. And that might be what their primary intention was. But for the simplicity of the mode that they're giving out, I think it works kind of.
It's nice that they just gave us the option. They probably didn't intend it to be used for like 8-hour tournaments, but it's nice that they gave us the option because maybe you do want to have like a real endurance thing. But it probably works right, as you said, as you would expect if you had, like, say, a 30-minute or a 1-hour chunk. And if you're that's not too hard to play Mario Kart for an hour straight. And then you would have a pretty good idea of who's the top dog after that time limit.
Right. Though I do know when we're actually going to be hosting our own tournaments for prizes and for real glory, we're going to have our own system. We're going to use a separate external tournament tracking system for we'll probably do more of a league system, maybe over a couple of weeks, or we'll have tournament system, and we'll have eliminations, and we'll have narrow it down to semifinals, that kind of thing, depending on the participation. But we're going to probably do our own long-term kind of a competition just to really bring up the hype on it. Yeah, and it's definitely something that I'm really personally excited about because it's going to be fun getting really nitty-gritty with you guys.
Yeah. Even a non-tournament multiplayer is very easy to get into. I mean, I didn't even have to look for rooms half the time. If you have people on your friends list, it just lets you know if they're in a room, and you could just click their name and all right, you're now joined whatever room JV is in right now. And the next race he's open, you just kind of mesh into his group.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good preview of what their, future multiplayer plans are. I want Nintendo to pursue a seamless way to jump into multiplayer games with your friends.
Yeah.
And that's at least a good sign that Mario Kart 8 has something like that.
So what did you think of the new modes that we got to play in there? Obviously, race mode is race mode, but we did do some of the battle mode, and we tried out the new one is the Renegade mode.
So I actually haven't gotten to play Renegade mode.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. I know it's a bit like I heard it described as cops and robbers style.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, it was almost or like freeze tag, maybe think of it.
Oh, okay.
Think of it as, so you got it breaks you up into the teams. You have one team of 4 cops, basically, and they all have piranha plant weapons permanently attached to them. And the other team is the renegades, and they're just trying to escape. And, or 8 on 8, whatever, way it is. And the cops win if whenever they go near, obviously, their piranha plants capture whoever's nearby, and it puts them in a little prison. And if they can capture all of the opponents, they win. But if the renegades aren't just totally at the mercy of avoiding getting caught. If you're caught, another player can free you from prison by ramming the key block underneath your prison. And sometimes 3 or 4 people might be trapped in the same jail cell. So one good renegade can save half the team if he just makes a good daring raid, or if they didn't protect a certain prison cell.
Oh, how cool is that? That actually sounds really fun.
It's very intense. It can also end very quickly, though, if you are not, if your team is totally disorganized. It is possible for the cops to just catch everyone on your team in the first 20 seconds of the game.
Right.
And they do the thing where the map, you don't see the other team on the map unless someone on your team has line of sight. So you can hide on the map, and they don't find you unless someone, actually gets to glimpse you.
I think that's actually a really interesting take on the battle mode then, and I'm kind of sad that I haven't taken part in this yet.
I hated it at first. It took it a little because I just got caught and I didn't know how to break out and stuff like that. And it can stink if you're just in that jail cell waiting to bust out and just no one's freeing you. But it's pretty exciting, and it's tough. It's tough either side.
Right. I can definitely see how it can be a little frustrating if you're out there and you don't know anything and you get caught off guard with a teammate that you can't really talk to. But I feel like this could be a ton of fun on voice chat.
Yes.
I feel like it'd be so fun if the cops had their own voice channel and the renegades had their own voice channel, and you could just communicate the whole time. I think that would be so much fun.
That is pretty excellent. Yes.
Yeah. And it's possible.
Yeah, that we can totally do that. If those right now, it picks teams randomly. So I don't know if there's a way to make sure that you are on a team with people that you plan to be on a team with. Maybe there's a room setting for that, but right now it just picks a random half of the room in one team, half of the room on the other team.
I think regardless, having voice chat for something like that, even if it's a shared channel, would be fun.
Yeah, totally. And we have plenty of those set up in the Discord right now, so make use of them.
Yes, exactly.
And did you get to try out the Bomb Blast one, whatever it's called?
Oh yeah, I remember this is it was from Double Dash, I think.
Oh, this was in the previous game.
Yeah, it was in Mario Kart Double Dash, if I'm remembering correctly, the GameCube version.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's something similar.
Okay. So yeah, I never played this one before, and this gets pretty crazy in 12-player modes.
I could assume considering bombs.
Yeah, and just every item you pick up is a bomb. You can gather multiple of them up, and the really exciting part is near the end of the stage, at the last minute, all the cubes become double cubes, so everyone's getting twice as many bombs in that last minute.
So it ramps up at the very end.
Oh, it's nuts. It's nuts. And you know what? If you're really good, like there was one stage that I just dominated because it was in the booze like castle, and there's this big open like center area where all the cubes are. And if you just stockpile beforehand and then you just kind of position yourself in the right place, when like 6 or 7 people go to that center to like start fighting over, cubes, you could just throw 2 or 3 bombs in there, and I killed like 6 people, and I got like so many points just bombing the center while other people are fighting over those cubes. And I was just going down hallways to get my bombs elsewhere. I was like, I ain't running into that death trap.
That's really awesome. And this whole talk makes me so happy that they focused on the battle mode a bit more.
Oh,
because that was one of the biggest disappointing factors in Mario Kart 8, the original, on the Wii U.
Really?
The battle mode felt like such a afterthought, and I'm glad that they really beefed it up for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Okay, yeah, I definitely feel like it's equally important as the races, especially with just so many modes, and even just shuffling between them when we were doing the tournament, or someone started a group that we were doing battle modes, and it just shuffles between the battle modes, and they're all such different mentalities that you can't, and you can't get bored of it because it's just like, oh, now it's Shine Runners. All right, totally different tactics for this.
Yeah, it's just the battle mode in Mario Kart 8 really frustrated me because they used the exact same maps as the racetrack maps, so half the time it takes a long time to find the enemy. And there's no real structure to the battle mode. It felt like an afterthought.
Wow, okay. I didn't realize that. Really, they just used the tracks for the battle mode?
Yeah,
wow.
It's the whole tracks were where you were supposed to battle. So half the time you wouldn't even be running into any of the opponents.
Wow, that is a pretty. I can even imagine that.
Yeah, so I'm glad they really beefed it up for Deluxe.
Yeah. The way they structure some of these, and I liked actually some of the retro ones. They brought back like some of the like really old school battle maps from like even the first Mario Kart game.
Oh yeah,
and there's the Splatoon one, and they all have a lot of really good like knickknacks or little tricks you can do, or jumps that take you right over the screen. Just like just really cool features that emphasize. Or there's even the low gravity one. There's like the space station one where you're all like floating around and bouncing all over the place.
Different types of physics on it.
Yeah, that's really cool. So what about the races themselves? So I mean, are these all the same that you remember from Mario Kart 8?
Yeah, a lot of them are obviously from Mario Kart 8. They included a lot of the DLC maps that I didn't really touch.
Gotcha.
Which it essentially doubled the amount of maps from the original. So they included that in Deluxe, and honestly, the new ones are new to me, and they feel just as fresh and as welcome.
It is a crazy number of tracks. It is insane. I mean, I look at that, I'm just like, I haven't even raced them all yet,
I believe it's 48 maps, isn't it?
That's insane. That's a lot. That's really fun. And then all the different like CCs and the new 200cc mode.
Yeah. Have you been able to try out 200cc, Casey?
Once.
Once. I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
It's crazy. No, like I like the description. It warns you when you even are selecting it as an option. Braking is mandatory, and they're not joking. Braking is just what you do in emergencies, right?
Right.
You're going fast that you have to throttle your speed because your power and your speed will just take you off the course if you do not throttle it correctly. I mean, you can't just drift wantonly and go for every single boost you imagine. Especially Rainbow Road? No, do not just hit the gas on Rainbow Road. You will just never be on the course for more than a second.
I actually really like 200cc. It's definitely not something that I'm gonna, play normally, because I feel like 150cc is gonna be the overall standard. But if I really want to get intense, and if everyone agrees to get on that level, I think 200cc is gonna be so much fun.
No, I love it. It's very intense. I just have to get myself back into shape for racing. 150cc definitely feels like the sweet spot in that you can really just let loose and just drift and get your boosts. But I feel like 200cc is going to be like the masters. Like that's where people who know, because that's the hardest thing to teach people in games, especially, something that feels so free and fun like this. It's hard to teach someone to slow themselves down or to play defensively.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just such a different type of skill. And I appreciate that. And I think that it's going to be what really defines the high level players in this.
Yeah. And I believe people have even mentioned that 200cc even reduces the level of luck involved in the game, and it becomes a lot more skill based, because items are dodgeable. You're going so fast that you might not even hit them.
That's true.
Stuff like the golden mushroom, although it can bring you to the front, it can also be a double-edged sword.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so stuff like that. I feel like if there's a competitive mode for esports or anything like that, 200cc might be it.
I agree. The weapons were very hard because I learned early that I can't just shoot my red shell and know it'll hit the guy. I had to really time it. I had to know that I was close enough, or that he was going to be turning around a bank, and then it can hit him while he's like turning around the corner. It was a lot more strategy in aiming any of my weapons.
Right, and I feel like it would actually be a lot of fun to maybe do a 200cc tournament in the more distant future. Once everyone, gets accustomed to 150cc, I think we should do a switch over at some point.
Oh, I think that'll be something we'll do. I think there's always going to be people who even prefer, like I know people who just prefer 50cc just for the relaxed fun of it. That's fine. Right. Everyone's going to have their thing. But yeah, I think I definitely want to get more of a taste of the craziness in 250 and 200.
And I just feel like, the intensity of it is so fascinating and fun, and I want to see how everyone reacts to a tournament like that.
Hi. I want to ask though, how do you control it? Do you go with just the regular controller? Do you use the tilt controls? Do you use a wheel or anything?
I actually don't use a wheel. I like to be as precise as possible, so I just stick with the standard controller scheme. I remember trying to play Mario Kart with the motion controls on the Wii, and I did not like it at all. So I haven't really delved into the motion controls for that game since the Wii. I
did learn this week that I will quote Ms. Silva on this one, that I am an anomaly in this, in that I've almost only ever played using tilt controls or wheels from the Wii one, and I do not like other ways. And you said you use controller for more control. I feel that the tilt controls give me more precision to turn, in that it's a lot easier to make like a 3-degree turn. Like one of the things a controller in your joystick can't do is that very micro turn that it's faster to turn all the way to the left, which can be good for, drifting in certain situations. But I like being able to like weave right between things. And I feel like the wheel gives me that kind of precision of small movements.
Yeah, that is anomalous. That's for sure. And I'm guessing, considering just the sheer capabilities of the Joy-Con, I feel like it is more accurate nowadays. When I played it on the Wii, the Wiimote had a certain level of imprecision to it, so it wasn't something you could rely on as well. And I believe maybe the motion control technology of the Joy-Con might be precise enough to support full-fledged wheel controls.
I might want to try out Fast RMX with the wheels that I got.
Yeah,
I will take this opportunity to describe, as I mentioned, there'll be a video for these up in a day or two anyway, but I will describe the Orsley steering wheels I got really quick.
Sure, go for it.
I mean, they're just the wheels. They have the input to put the controllers in, your Joy-Cons in there. I like that they feel very thick and solid. I remember that the one I used on Wii felt very plasticky, and it was kind of very lightweight. And this is still lightweight, but it has a little thickness to it. Like, I feel like I could knock it against a wall a few times and that it won't crack or anything like that.
Yeah.
I like it has very clicky buttons, whereas like before, the ones I've used in the past, they had a springiness to them, but it was just a soft kind of press. It wasn't hitting a very nice, these have a very satisfying click as you push in the shoulder buttons on there. And it has a cool little LED light, so when I suspect it just has like a mirror or something that reflects the LEDs on your Joy-Con.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because it just comes out on the top there, and it looks like the Knight Rider kind of light going back and forth.
Which is actually pretty neat. And I got to preview your video a little bit, because I'll be the one doing the editing for that. It looks heftier than the old Wii motion control wheels. So that's definitely a plus compared to that one.
Yeah, and I can't remember, but it feels a little smaller. I don't know if it is or if that's my memory of it. It feels like a little tighter, and it's a good size though. I think it's a good small size. It's compact, easy to bring with me in case I want to use it on, when I'm going to SwitchFest tomorrow. But yeah, it's a good size, and like I said, it feels solid. The thing goes in pretty easily, and they have a little hole in the back to pop out the controller. All in all, pretty good. I'm happy with, and I like that you get a 2-pack for right now. I think it's like $14 on Amazon, so it's a pretty good. If you like tilt controls, if you're not, then this won't change your mind on that. I don't think, but
yeah,
if you like tilt controls, I definitely would recommend picking up something like this.
Right. For me, it definitely was just not on my radar whatsoever.
Oh, yeah.
But
I'm
for
sure
the people that are,
I was very surprised to find out how much of a minority I am. I thought maybe like at least half of people preferred wheels or whatever, but nope, I'm like such a rarity.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of Mario Kart diehards are used to the control scheme. So the motion controls weren't really as appealing to the diehards, and that could be why it's a bit segmented the way it is. I
was surprised that it automatically had the steering assist and the acceleration assist on in the game.
Yeah, that was a little off-putting to me as a player, but I can see why Nintendo did that. If a player needs steering assist, they're probably not going to know how to turn it on otherwise.
I guess. I mean, yeah, it didn't tick me off. I'm not going to be like angry that it was on. I don't feel, and in a tournament we had it set that it disabled that anyway, so it wasn't on during the tournament. But I was realizing like, hey, I'm really good at turning in this one player mode all of a sudden.
Yeah, it definitely caught some people off guard, and I immediately turned it off as soon as I could.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have for people who just are casuals and who maybe probably won't get into the game as competitively as we are.
I mean, did you hear about that though? That crazy story of the father who this is the first time he's been able to actually play a game like this with his daughter.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's stories like that which make me really happy that Nintendo is able to, cater to that audience a little bit more.
Yeah, no, like I mentioned before, it's I was thanking people the other day for giving me advice on games that we could play with my autistic cousin. And you know what? I just realized that with these controls and this little extra feature, this makes it way accessible to anyone with a special need. It's a really good positive note, and obviously we're going to have so much to talk about this, I'm sure, in the weeks to come.
For now, I think that's a good bit of coverage for the game right now.
All right, that sounds perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, we actually managed to play other games this week.
Oh, yeah. It's been packed with Mario Kart 8, but there are other games too.
Yeah, and we both have had some time to delve into PuyoPuyo Tetris, which also came out last week, and we've been spending time in very different ways. I know last week you told us about your online competitiveness in this.
Yes, and honestly, KC.
Yeah.
Every single time I booted up PuyoPuyo Tetris, I immediately click on the online mode and go into Puzzle League. That's okay. It's just instinctual for me now. That's the mode that I gravitate towards.
I did it once. I turned on the Puzzle League mode one night, and I gave it a try, and I had some battles, and it was fun, and I came to the conclusion that, to me, Tetris and Puyo Puyo are like gardening in that it is a fun hobby. It is the thing I enjoy, casually, relaxed. I do not want to be a competitive gardener. I do not want to be, those are just not things that, it's just not the kind of activity that I enjoy in that way. And so I've been sticking to not only the one player mode, but I've just been playing the endless mode in there and just trying to learn the Puyo tactics and the mastering that as a new game. So I really have not played too much of the online mode. I said I gave it one night.
Right.
People schooled me. People owned me. I mean, even like I got matched up with some very, equally ranked people. I think I had one match that was pretty even and I managed to win, but a lot of people, even just newbies, were kind of owning me in that. And because the way to win is different than you would expect. You really can't just do the typical, I'm building up a pile and I'm going to get a Tetris and then go for another Tetris. Like, you have to be aware of what your opponent is doing.
Right, exactly.
And actually harass them at times and know when to drop, trash on their side.
And for me, that's the challenge in Tetris and I guess Puyo Puyo that excites me. But I can definitely recognize that that's not necessarily for everyone.
Yeah, I don't like, for me, I think part of it is that I don't like having to take my focus away from my screen to see what they're doing and to know when to launch an attack. And I'm sure if I went, I could probably learn when to identify good weak points, learn how to do that T rotation thing that apparently is very big for competitive
right.
Yeah, but I don't like breaking my attention up on two different screens. I think I prefer games where all the action is happening on the same field and my actions are directly affecting them in clear and predictable ways. That's just my style. I'm just saying, like, just for me. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
It's just interesting that these games accommodate such completely different mindsets.
Absolutely.
You can approach Puyo Puyo Tetris as a Zen-like puzzle experience, yet you could also approach it as a competitive head-to-head battle mode. And that's what's fun about it, and that's why so many people respect these genres.
No, yeah, this is, I'll say, despite any aversion I have to playing that online mode again, I am getting more than enough fun out of the story mode even. I actually started the story mode.
Really? Okay.
Yes, and it is adorable. I mean, for the stupid little story of all the characters who I guess are from other Puyo games who are apparently traveling through dimensions whenever they pop Puyos, and they've now ended up on some other dimension where people don't use Puyo battles to solve their problems. They play this game called Tetris, and I'm on a spaceship, and I'm meeting all these crazy characters. I'm trying to find my friends, and every debate, it's like the Yu-Gi-Oh world. Every possible debate is solved through a battle. And in this case, it's Tetris and or Puyo battles that they just can summon at will. And it's hilarious. The voice acting is great. I mean, I even recognize a lot of these voice actors from other games. Like, I know the Bravely Default girl is in there and some of those. And I like it. It's cute. It's charming. It's charming. It's not overly done. It's not like you have to read a lot of story. It's just like, here's a little stupid jokey comic strip for a few lines of text, and then you go and you do a competition. And usually it's broken down into, like, you're trying to get star ratings, right? You could try to, sometimes it's you just have to beat the opponent. Sometimes they're like, well, score over 3,000 points before you get 10 lines. Okay, so now you have to do things a little differently, like little challenges, and you could do them over if you want to get 3-star ratings or more. If you just don't care, just keep beating them and move on. It's fun, it's not a bad, but I actually have been spending most of my time just in endless mode, trying to really get the feel of how to do Puyo combos.
That makes sense. And it's just so surreal that a Puyo Puyo Tetris game has a story mode in the first place.
I gotta say, I like the characters, and I almost want to play Versus just to use my favorite character avatars.
Oh yeah, and maybe you don't have to go into online mode. I think for you, Casey, I think it would be fun just playing multiplayer regardless, just as a casual experience as opposed to a more competitive one.
I think if I learned Puyo just enough to be on par with the people who I know that are pretty good at Tetris, I think that's where I want to be.
Right. And I'm guessing maybe, have you tried 4-player PuyoPuyo or Tetris?
I did that with the demo. I haven't played 4-player yet in person, though. Only with the demo.
And with 4-player, it's definitely not as intense or as specific and competitive as the head-to-head Puzzle League mode. So maybe that having a more casual multiplayer experience might be more enjoyable.
My only problem with that is waiting. If let's say there's 2 good players, and then right, and then
so you have to wait.
You have to wait as they actually have a battle, and you guys just got knocked out because you're the trash on this stage, buddy.
I know Tetris DS circumvented that by letting people who died play anyway, just their own ghost game.
I gotcha. Okay, that's not too bad.
And that's gave less garbage blocks, but I think it still contributed garbage blocks to the enemies to make it the lose condition come in faster.
Oh.
But they didn't do that here.
Okay. That'd be a cute option.
Yeah.
Little revenge.
It could be.
But yeah, I mean, not too much to say about that, but I probably, it's to its credit that I even turned this game on since Mario Kart 8 came out.
Right. And I just think the fundamental gameplay of Puyo Puyo and Tetris hold up even throughout all the years that it's been out already.
Yeah.
There's a reason why it's stuck around for so long.
Did you play that other fusion mode?
Oh, yes, I did. Actually, and I got super frustrated about it.
That is weird. I did not know that was in this game, and that is another totally weird beast of a thing.
Instead of swap, it's fusion, right?
Yeah. And it's
So I do have a story about that.
Okay, tell us.
I was in the Puzzle League mode. I had a gigantic long string of undefeated matches, and I was about to upgrade my rank.
Okay.
So this was my upgrade placement game. Lo and behold, all of a sudden, I was playing fusion mode, and I was forced to play Puyo Puyo against another person who was playing Puyo Puyo and Tetris fused together. And since I know practically nothing about the strategy of Puyo Puyo, I lost.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy that.
Okay. I could totally see, when I picked it out first, I didn't know it was in the game, and it takes some figuring out. It's interesting, and there's some potential there, but basically, did you get the basic gist of how it works?
I kind of do. You play Puyo Puyo similarly, but whenever Tetris blocks come in, they come down and they eat out and delete all the Puyo pieces that come down.
Yeah, they kind of just squash. So, the Tetris pieces are, giant on here because, it's just, a different scaled screen. And so, a single, T block is, massive. But, yeah, it squashes any Puyos that you drop it on. And you can use that to your advantage to clear out, maybe trash or stuff like that. But, yeah, you're trying to make lines with the Tetronimos on the same screen that you're trying to build chains with Puyos. That's just crazy.
It's a little weird, and I can definitely recognize the puzzle validity of that mode. It just wasn't particularly welcome when I was trying to be super competitive, and I wanted to win and upgrade my rank, but I got my first loss because of not Tetris.
So you only play Tetris, right? You don't really quite...
right. Yeah. I don't play... I only play Tetris so far.
Okay.
And that's what's been letting me climb the ranks. I was a little surprised when I was forced to do the weird different modes.
Okay.
But I found out that you actually have to turn the setting off. You have to actually specifically set it so you're paired against people who also only want to do Tetris.
Interesting.
And then from there you can proceed.
Now, do you notice any different strategies that you have to do while playing against someone who is
a Puyo player?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. All the different strategies that we discussed in the previous episode definitely apply. And facing it off firsthand really emphasized how reactive you have to be as a Tetris player against Puyo players.
Mm-hmm.
You're on the back pedal. You have to react. You want to make sure that you're able to, get rid of lines as they're sending garbage blocks towards you, because they can inevitably react to their blocks faster than you can.
Okay.
And while I don't feel like it's necessarily unbalanced per se, it's interesting that you need a different approach to get competitive with that.
Okay, very cool, very cool.
Yeah.
All right, there is one other game that we both have actually played. I think I gave this game a little more time. It clicked with me definitely more than you, though. But
yes,
yeah. I can give my full review now of TumbleSeed, though I have posted my review, so I won't go too much into it since you can read all of my thoughts on this. But we'll go to the bare bones here. Again, we went over all the details of how this game plays last week. What are your final, how much time did you actually feel like playing with TumbleSeed personally?
I definitely wanted to give it a good amount of time so that I could have my opinion on it. I gave it about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Okay.
So, a decent amount of time for a game like this.
Okay. I've probably been playing it for about, I'd say 10 to 20 minutes a day.
Oh, wow.
No, yeah. Every time I turn on my Switch on my commute, I feel the urge just to play one run or one or two runs of TumbleSeed. It's probably because I get frustrated in a weird way where if a game ticks me off but I still enjoy it, I want to beat it even better. I just get driven a little harder.
Oh, yeah. I can see that.
Yeah, and this is definitely that kind of game. And my main recommendation is that I really have a hard time recommending this game to most people because you have to have that kind of drive to enjoy this game, because the difficulty is really brutal at times. There are just certain places you'll get that if you're not completely patient and don't know how to react to certain threats, or if you even act rashly, that's it. You could have 5 hearts and you could have all the crystals and weapons equipped that you want. It'll all just fall apart in 10 seconds if you just don't know how to calmly react to a certain situation and not get frustrated. And
right.
Yeah. So,
and for me, I could definitely recognize that the game is built well. The art style is gorgeous and it's a well-built game. Mm-hmm. But for someone like me, I definitely didn't want to have to fight with the controls to get the character to where I wanted it to go.
Okay.
And that's kind of what I felt like. That was the feeling that I was getting when I was playing the game.
It does it does make me think that this game might have benefited from having at least one mode of designed levels. The fact that the stages are random means it is kind of cool when you're like, oh crud, my only way to escape is to roll really fast and just totally go to the right, and then you're on your way and you realize, oh, I'm going to go straight into a hole, but then you try to pull up and just land against a tree root to stop your descent into the hole, and you improvise these really interesting ways to survive another 10 seconds. It's fine. But I think if they had a mode that was here's a stage where there is a very specifically designed way for you to defeat this, or a specific challenge or skill that we're testing, I think the game would be a little more enjoyable to certain people if it had that. Actual, not
right.
Random stages that would seem a little more fair to certain people.
Right. So we already explained the basic premise of the game in the previous episode. So I did want to share that I liked the game. I enjoyed it somewhat, but whenever I actually wanted to get to certain places, I felt like it was cumbersome to me, and I felt like I had not as much control as I wanted.
Well, that's the thing. You do have to accept that the game is making you play by its rules, and that you do have to sometimes say, nope, going to that place and getting that item is not worth the risk. I have to I did say, like, I feel like it's a risk reward game. You sometimes have to weigh, is it worth me possibly falling down these holes if I go this way to get that really good item, or should I just skip it and go down this path that's a little safer, but I'll be deprived an item, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was a game where you had perfect controls, you would be able to just always take the optimal path and get everything and do everything and beat every monster. It's the fact that there's just, like, you're so at the whim of your own skill limits that those choices have some sort of weight.
Right. And for me, it's just, I didn't feel like that was the type of skill that I wanted to test.
Yep. That sounds like something I've said for certain games. Definitely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there you go. And, there were some times when I wanted to get into a door of a room and I had to slowly tilt the controls to the right. Oh, a little bit too far. Let me tilt it back to the left. Oh, too far again there. Okay, finally, I could get into the door of something.
I'm definitely the more patient player. I'll say that. That's where this is. I'm very, like, I have that kind of patience where none of that will really bother me. But yeah, I don't think a lot of people don't. There is one feature of the game that I didn't realize at first that I think would be encouraging to some people who might have picked this up or are looking at it but are a little put off. There is warp zones, basically, that you can unlock as you play this. As you do the missions, there's little missions like, get to the next area in 2 minutes or less, or go to a store and buy any item. As you do this, eventually you get a quest to carry an aura to the next town. And once you do that, you've unlocked a teleporter to that town. And now anytime you want, you could just instantly skip to there and start your game further up the mountain. And as you keep doing these, eventually, even though the difficulty is going to always ramp up, you're going to be able to beat the game, which has a definite ending eventually. It's just that, you're going to have to just focus on the missions rather than just trying to jet your way up the mountain.
That's definitely a good feature to have for a game like this. I think that's probably a modern styling for roguelike, because classic roguelikes really just started you from the beginning every time.
Yeah.
And they're able to recognize that that's not necessarily something that a modern player might want.
I just wish more of the auras and the items you got didn't hurt you. Like, so many things that I use as weapons can hurt yourself.
Yeah, I can see that. Pretty much everything is a double-edged sword.
Everything that you don't start with, 100% is. It's just, like the ghost. It's such a cool, powerful weapon to have this ghost that follows you and hurts anything that it touches. But if you ever stay still, it will touch you and you will get hurt. And it's like you now are just doomed. You can never stay still in the game. Even in a town, you now have to move because that ghost is still following you in town.
Oh man, yeah.
And then I found some random weird thing out. This just shows you there's a lot of hidden things in this game. I had the one that actually just bounces around randomly. And I was in a town, and I guess it damaged a totem pole that was like some sacred, shrine thing. And it angered a god, and the totem pole now chased me around the map and tried to stomp me out while I was in the town.
That's actually a pretty cool touch, though.
It's hilarious. It is cool. But I was so like, everything in this game wants to kill you.
Oh, yeah, and I feel like that's part of the appeal of the game, and if you like that type of stuff, yeah, go for it. I even though I didn't necessarily want to continue playing the game, I just want to emphasize that I can recognize that this is a well-built game that appeals to certain people.
It's funny, I have like the exact opposite view, but the same kind of conclusion. I like this game, but I totally get why anyone would hate it.
So there you go. That's us.
That's us. All right. We have talked a lot about games we have played, and this has probably been the longest playtime session we've had, but it's, it deserves it.
Yeah, there were a lot of really noteworthy games this past week. So
yeah,
there's that for sure.
All right. So let's get into the news and round up all the other interesting things that weren't games this week.
About time, Casey.
let's just kick things off with actually some of the Mario Kart news that came out this week.
Yep.
I think the first and foremost is just the fact that this game actually sold better than any other Mario Kart in the series' 25-year history.
Yeah, and I actually really love that it did that, because there were so many skeptical people that thought Mario Kart 8 was going to sell poorly.
Yeah. I think a lot of people were like, it's a remake. No one's going to buy a remake of a game in that like large. It's not going to be that popular, but it's a remake of a game that was on a system that wasn't really in that many people's hands. So that was always my viewpoint on that argument. And
yeah,
and it just has a totally different vibe. Even if you did have the other one, it's like, okay, I'll buy this because you're buying this to play with the people. And I think that's really been the emphasis and why it almost feels like a totally new game to people.
There's just so many things that they perfected in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I feel like this is, the epitome of the Mario Kart franchise. Now that they fixed battle mode, now that racing mode is so easily accessible, now that it's both portable and playable on the TV, it's just, it's hard to complain about. If you're a Mario Kart fan, this has to be a game that you have to own.
It really was the perfect follow-up as the second biggest, the second big release on the Switch after Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just such a good change of pace as well.
And were you familiar with the acceleration bug that was in the previous game and actually carried over to this until recently?
Yes, I tangentially knew about it, but I don't think it necessarily impacted my play experience with Mario Kart 8. So I couldn't really speak too much about it.
Okay, well, basically this was just a bug where usually all the stats when you're customizing your kart, they go up in 1/4 increments. Like if you see a bar, you could have 4 1/4 weight, or 3 1/4, or 3 1/2 acceleration. Well, apparently the games had a bug that would always round down your acceleration to the next lowest whole number.
Right.
So if you had 3 3/4 acceleration, you only had 3 acceleration in the actual gameplay. And apparently they finally got around to fixing that this week.
Yeah, which is good. I'm glad that that's something that's resolved, because this has been an issue since the Wii U days.
Yeah, and acceleration, especially in the modes where you're getting beat up a lot and you need to pick up speed and get away, that's a pretty vital stat in this kind of game.
Yeah, exactly.
On to ARMS. We had a couple of things. So you saw the new character that they finally revealed this week.
Yeah, they finally revealed Helix, which is a definitely strange character in the ARMS franchise.
Yes, he is a DNA man with stretchy DNA arms, and he's a big pile of goop.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of Flubber.
But yeah, he's kind of, I'm sorry, he just creeps me out, dude.
Does he really?
He kind of I don't know, he talks this weird gibberish, he moves in all sorts of weird monstrous ways, and he has those weird fists that splash you with goop. I don't know, dude.
Yeah.
He's creeping me out.
I feel like he's probably the water elemental character in the game, maybe.
Uh-huh.
And this is probably how they manifest that type of character. Now, I do agree. He's a little weird. His movements are kind of odd and creepy a little bit. But I love that they're going this weird with a character in ARMS.
Yeah.
That opens up the character possibilities in this game quite a bit, I think.
Now, they didn't specify what his special ability was, but I'm suspicious if possibly he's the, Shao Kahn character where he can take on the abilities of all the other characters. Because you
think so?
I think it's possible because he's DNA man, right? And he can he can copy the DNA of his opponents. B, I saw him with those weird dragon arms, and I'm like, is that Min Min's dragon arms? And is his does he have other possible abilities from other fighters? I don't know. I only saw those dragon arms that made me suspicious that he stole her ability.
I can see that. I was definitely wondering why he had dragon arms as well. And without any narration or explanation of his abilities on the introduction video, it's hard to say.
Yeah. And they showed off a lot of him dodging. Like, he was just like, someone was doing the whole pummel thing, and he's just, I don't know if it was just a cinematic thing, or is that actually tied into his abilities where he can do some crazy, flubbery dodging moves.
Yeah. He was essentially just dodging back and forth the entire flurry.
I'm very interested to hear what his shtick is and what exactly his power and weaknesses are.
Yeah, it's also interesting that he can essentially sink into the ground, and that might be another evasive move that he can do.
Yeah, he was stretching and a lot. He just seems like he has a lot going on.
Yeah, and as I said before, I'm glad that they're able to go that weird with their characters.
Yeah.
And maybe that means that they're willing to introduce more complex characters that can do things outside of a normal biped.
No, that's true. It's true. Everybody so far was humanoid. We had a robot and a mummy. It's still very grounded
humanoid.
Very humanoid. This is breaking that. We need a Blanca in the game, basically, and he might be feeling that kind of bill. Yeah,
exactly. And I welcome it.
Yes.
I absolutely welcome it.
Very cool, even if he creeps me out. New update and DLC has been revealed for Blaster Master Zero.
Yeah, including Azure Striker Gunvolt content.
Actually, there's 2 characters that will be DLC that you can actually, I believe this will be paid, these particular part, but you will be able to play the game with, instead of the main pilot of the Sophia the Third, you can play as Azure Striker Gunvolt and the main character from Galgun. I don't remember her name there, but basically they changed the entire gameplay of the game that you're playing. In all the scenes, it looks like Gunvolt and her don't even need the tank, because at that point, and he retains his powers from the Gunvolt game. It looks like he was jumping around. He doesn't have to worry about fall damage, which makes sense with, his gameplay style. He tags people with his gun, and then he does the electric bolts that, do the actual damage. So it was really wild to watch just a totally different genre crossover, or not a different genre, but just a totally different character with mechanics jump into this game like that.
And now the price of the DLC is $2. And while some people might say that this should be free DLC, I feel like the fact that these characters are so different essentially makes the game a new game.
It's pretty replayable. It looks like it's, completely replayable in a very different way, because, you're not going to use the same tactics as you normally would when you're driving the tank around. And both of these characters look like not just stylish. $2 is enough reason to, replay a game like this. Yeah. I mean, it was only a $10 game to begin with, come on. Yeah. $2 more. There's also the hard mode, which I think is going to be a free update.
Right.
And that looks very tricky. Like it says in this mode, you have to make the right call at every turn and use your entire arsenal if you want to have a chance at defeating the powered up mutants. And speaking of DLC, we have also some news about the Zelda Breath of the Wild expansion pass.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to take in, and this is just DLC Pack 1.
Yes, that's true. It's going to include the hard mode, where enemies gradually regain health, so you have to take them out as quickly as possible, no more nickel and diming them to death. And they are also powered up by 1 level, so red bokoblins in normal mode are now blue, and enemies can have higher maximum levels than they would in normal mode. And you'll also see flying enemies, basically in floating platforms.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
That means you can't even float safely on your wings.
Yeah, I know in the game, other than maybe running into guardians, I felt relatively safe in the air.
Yes, right, exactly.
Yeah, now having these floating platform goblins kind of threaten that safety, which makes sense for a hard mode.
Yeah, and they also have Trial of the Sword, where you could take on this special challenge. You're going to face an onslaught of enemies, wave after wave, And Link starts the challenge without any equipment or weapons. And when all the enemies in a room are defeated, you proceed to the next. If you clear all of the 45 rooms in this, you're going to power up the Master Sword, and it will always be in its glowing, powered up state, i.e. able to shoot laser beams, regardless of your health thereafter.
I feel like if you want a condensed experience, Trial of the Sword is great. Because it's just a one start, you proceed through the trial, and it's something that's relatively self-contained.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's valuable for this type of game.
I know what I could see this all being worth while for. People who, and we've heard about this from a lot of people, who've beaten the game, but like only have like 20 or 30% completion. Yeah. And you want to go through and explore all that stuff. But hey, here's a little few cool things to do and then unlock this power, and it will make the rest of the world exploration a little more either challenging for hard mode, or if you just want to do it with a powered up Master Sword, also good. There's also the travel medallion. It's just basically you could put one location on the map and set it as a fast travel spot. Just a convenience.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
And then just a whole bunch of different armor and equipment that looks really cool and copies costumes from previous games, like Majora's Mask. They've got Midna's helmet, Phantom armor, and Korok masks and other stuff.
Now, the feature that fascinated me most is called the Hero's Path mode. It's a feature that lets you see all of the path that you traveled over the past 200 hours of gameplay.
Wow.
Yeah, so you can see where you've traveled, where you've moved over the past 200 hours.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I love that that'll let you see what areas of the map that you might have missed and can focus your back travel.
That's true, because you know what? I am the kind of person who will travel to the same spot 5 times thinking like, oh, wait, I don't think I've checked this mountain. And then I go there, and then like 2 days later, I'm like, oh, I don't think I haven't checked this mountain. It's the same one I didn't check yesterday, you know?
Right. I think this will be super handy, and apparently you can play it like a video. So you can start from the beginning, and you can see where you traveled as time passes. And that's such a cool feature. Mm-hmm. It's kind of crazy that it works retroactively too. So the game's been tracking where you've moved this entire time.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, that's all that, and that's coming out, I believe, this summer, and we'll see what other ones come out in the future.
Oh yeah, and since this is just the first pack, and it's so jam-packed with content, I'm pretty confident that the whole season pass is going to be worth the $20.
I'm getting confident in that. Yeah, if this is only the first of the things, you know, and just enhanced your experience, yeah, sounds pretty promising.
Yeah.
Next up, we had a couple of new games that were revealed this week. The one that interested me the most is this one, Earth Atlantis. And this isn't exactly what it looks like. So this, on the surface, it looks like just a shmup where you're in like a submarine and in this really cool kind of like vector art graphics with like wireframe characters and in this post-apocalyptic sunken Earth. But they specified that it's more of an exploration game with Monster Hunter elements to it.
Yeah, I don't understand how that would work, but it's fascinating how they're implementing this game.
Yeah, I think what it's like is that it's not like it's going to be a clear go left to right type of game. I think you're going to almost think of it like a Metroidvania, right? Think of it like that.
Yeah.
Where you're going to explore the deep sea and there's probably going to be some hub and they might say, oh, I need you to go and find me the giant barracuda beast. And you'll go out and you're going to have to find that boss monster somewhere on this giant 2D map and in a shmup style of combat, take it down and then go back to base.
Which is a pretty unique gameplay direction for this genre of game.
Yeah.
Even so, just looking at the game itself, the art style is quite unique as well.
Yeah. It has that retro, it looks like an old school map that you would have like that says "Here be dragons" kind of like thing, you know?
Right. It's like those Tolkien maps.
Yeah.
It's an interesting take in the side-scrolling shmup genre. if you can even call it that.
Yeah, it's an open world retro style side scrolling shooter. That's and they said with monster hunting gameplay, and they say that in capital letters, meaning they're literally alluding to Monster Hunter in that. I think they're trying to evoke that in a weird way, but definitely interested. I can't wait to see actually how this comes to fruition.
For sure. Yeah, that's something to keep an eye on.
The other one that was revealed at the same time was called Dusty Raging Fist. This is an anthropomorphic co-op brawler type game with bunny characters and all sorts of animal people. It looks like a brawler type game as co-op for up to 3 players. Just looks like a beat 'em up to me. I didn't see anything yet that made me excited about this, but we'll see. It looks like there's some features to still be revealed about this.
Right, and I can say that the art style looks really clean, and the graphics and how everything animates is very smooth, and that can be appealing. And I don't think we really have very many games in this genre on the Switch. So side-scrolling beat 'em up, kind of similar to
Final Fight.
Yeah, Final Fight, that Scott Pilgrim game, or Castle Crashers.
Yeah, okay.
That type of stuff. So, we'll see how that goes.
I have nothing else to say other than there is a Kickstarter for Shaq Fu, A Legend Reborn.
Fu!
And it has met its Switch goal, so we're going to be getting a Shaq Fu game on Switch.
Wow. What year is it?
I don't know, man, but hey, you know what?
It's so crazy.
It is crazy that they purposely were like, what's the worst game we've ever had in the world? Let's try to make it, redo it. I mean, obviously, they're not going to try to make it bad. They're going to try to make a good sequel to that. So we'll see. But I guess I'll pay attention just out of curiosity. Not that I'm itching to play this personally.
Yeah, it's Shaq Fu.
Yeah,
that's so strange.
And Death Square. Now, this actually has me pretty interested. This looks like this could be a very fun game in the future. Did you get to see this trailer at all? What this is about?
It looks like a bit of a co-op multiplayer puzzle game.
Yes, it kind of has a Portal vibe. It has that same kind of thing where there's a computer AI talking to you and taunting you, and it's almost like you're playing one of those little robots in that game called Claptrap. That's what I'm thinking of, actually. From
Claptrap.
Yeah, I'm thinking of that thing. So you're these little square robot things, and it's multiplayer mostly. So you could play with 2, 3, or 4 people, and you have to solve puzzles in these little rooms to survive and get out. But you have to all work together in weird ways. Like, all right, I'm immune to the blue lasers, so I can block this part, but then the yellow person has to come out and block this one for the next person, and he just knocked me off the cliff accidentally, and now we have to start over again.
Yeah. Honestly, considering the success of a game like Snipper Clips, multiplayer puzzle games, I think, would really thrive on the Switch. I think this is going to be something that's fun.
Yeah, and this goes up to the 4 players, which is definitely opens up some potential chaos and
hilarity.
And hilarity. I think they're going for that a lot more comical style like that. Yeah.
I actually went to PAX South and South by Southwest, the gaming expo. They actually featured pretty heavily in those conventions. At the time, they didn't announce that they were going to be on the Switch, but they had a lot of merchandise. They had little plush cubes that they were selling. And when people were playing the game, it seemed like they were having a ton of fun. So
cool.
I'm glad that this is finally coming to the Switch.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, it is actually out right now already on PC and PS4, I believe. So
yes,
there are other ways to
Xbox
try it,
One.
but we'll wait for the Switch. New releases we had this week. We had 2 games come out on the eShop. 2 Neo Geo arcade titles. Blazing Star, which is a space shmup, very classic style. And Over the Top, which is this racing game with it kind of feels like RC Pro-Am, if that reference makes any sense to anybody.
Yeah. And it's just funny that even a couple weeks ago, people were complaining that they wanted a shmup.
Yeah.
And now we're getting, we got Gem a couple weeks ago, and now this.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're hearing your calls and knowing what to send out. Guys.
Seriously, because like a lot of these come out like without any like warning. They probably just have like 50 of them lined up to go, and they're just like, what are people begging for? Oh, another fighting game? Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, next week's releases includes Garo, Mark of the Wolves, which is another fighting game from the Neo Geo age, and this might be the most widely regarded one that I remember.
Yeah.
I never played it, but I just know that whenever I mention this one, Oz came across people's eyes.
It looks really cool.
Yeah.
I haven't played it either myself, but it's the most modern of that genre on the Neo Geo, I think.
We also are getting Minecraft, the Switch edition, on May 11th.
Yeah. Very cool that Minecraft is coming to the Switch. I know online multiplayer is going to be really fun for that.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see actually how the community absorbs that, if they're going to really latch on to that and make that a big thing, or we're going to have to make another chat room just for people organizing Minecraft projects. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't heard too much hype about it, so I don't think that's going to be the case, but it would be interesting. I'm sure there's going to be some, fans of it who are going to do stuff with this.
And I know there have been a lot of younger kids who love Minecraft. They don't play with mods all that often, but they like playing with their friends. And it's hard for them to do that. Minecraft on the Switch allows wireless local multiplayer, which is something that kids would really enjoy.
Yeah, very much so. And finally, we have NBA Playgrounds, which has come again. It's a game I did not hear about until maybe a couple of weeks ago, and it's going to be it looks like it might be the NBA Jam style of arcade basketball that a lot of people are looking for, because there's really no sports titles on here yet. Is there any other sports title that you can think of?
No.
So yeah,
not really.
Yeah.
Well, the golf game, but
right. Yeah, that's true.
That's not really a dedicated.
Right. If we only had Wii Sports on here, Switch Sport.
But I saw articles saying that NBA Playgrounds is essentially the new NBA Jam, which is a fan favorite in that franchise. So maybe that might interest you guys.
I think that actually, I've heard a lot of people, people I trust as reporters and speculators on this, say that the fact that the Switch has done this well without any major sports titles is another great testament to it. But once it opens the gates and there are some solid sports titles, especially ones that enhance this multiplayer in the way that the Switch does, that's going to open up a whole new floodgate of interested parties that are going to want to come on board. So this might be the vanguard of the sports enthusiasts to start joining the Switch.
Vanguard.
Is that a keyword for you?
Yeah, it really is now. But I don't disagree. I think I'm hoping Nintendo can add more stock of Switches and increase the availability of it by when these big, wide, massive appeal games come out.
Oh, you know what's funny? I did see a story. I didn't include it, but I'll just mention that Nintendo is using, because usually systems ship by, via sea, and they come in cargo ships. They are actually, to fill the demand in time, using pretty expensive air shipping in order to get Switches to their destinations in time, which is rather unorthodox and very pricey.
But it goes to show just how much they really want to get Switches out there.
Yeah.
That's actually a really heartening story.
It's crazy. But let's hear what heartening stories you guys have to share with us as we shift over into the Community Pulse.
All right, so from Peter J. Ortiz.
He's always got to say it like that. I love it.
Or What?
No, I love it.
Peter J. Ortiz.
Shut up. I said I love it. Keep going.
Okay, fine. What was a topic you originally wanted to cover for the show, but it never came to fruition?
I don't know if there's any topic that we wanted to cover, but we still have all the chances to bring topics to fruition as we have.
Yeah, there's just, we have a limited amount of time each week to talk about certain things, and there's so many potential Switch topics, subjects that we can cover in the future.
All right, here's one. I'll just say this. Here's a dream topic for me that I can't do because it doesn't exist yet on the Switch, but I would love to eventually be able to do a tabletop games episode where there's enough card and board games brought onto the Switch that we could do a whole Switch topics discussing and analyzing them.
On that same mindset, I would love a MMO Switch topic.
Yeah.
So something like maybe Final Fantasy.
Oh, why am I?
Or Phantasy Star.
Oh,
stuff like that.
I think that would be. You're hitting me in the feels, man. You're hitting me.
I know, and I think that's stuff that we would love to cover on the show, but might not come to fruition.
Yes. Okay. That's a pretty good answer there. Yeah. Both. Yeah. I like. Definitely we want to talk about gaming communities sometimes. That's something we've discussed in the past. We probably will when we feel that the time is right. When it's a good time, or maybe it's topical, or maybe just the spirit strikes us, we will make that a Switch topics. It's definitely something, whether we address it as a analysis of Switch communities, or if we do as kind of a how to. Yeah, I was actually thinking it might be good for us to do an episode where we just kind of give advice and help plant the seeds for more communities out there.
Right. Yeah, it's probably something we'll cover in the future, and we have a plethora of subjects to cover over the upcoming years, so who knows?
Yeah. Ollie Houston Bloon, he wrote in, what old IP should be remade? For example, Altered Beast, Wave Race, Alex the Kid, Cool Spot. Good one. Cool Spot.
Cool Spot. That's super random, but I love that Ollie brought it up.
Uh-huh.
Wave Race. I actually really like Wave Race as an answer. That's a good answer. Yeah.
You know my answer.
I do know your answer, Casey.
Just say it. Just say it for me. You gotta spare me.
Is it Suikoden?
Dang right. Can I say dang? Can I say dang on here?
Yeah, you're allowed to say dang.
Okay, dang right.
You're so obsessed with that franchise, Casey.
Well, I'm a dedicated man, and
you are.
Look, people, we got to. I just said this today, actually, to someone. I feel like the last worshiper of a deceased deity.
I bet half of the teenagers nowadays don't even know what Suikoden is.
All the more reason it needs to be remade, or at least a new episode added to it.
For me, I feel like I would love a Trauma Center remake.
Okay.
On the Switch. Yeah, I really enjoyed that franchise. It came out. You know what? Advance Wars.
Yeah, okay.
It should be remade. That's old enough at this point, right?
Mm-hmm. I could see that.
That's the bastion I'm standing on.
Okay. I think actually I'm going to go back to one I said from the third-party games. I think an Ogre Battle could really be well done. I think specifically Ogre Battle, March of the Black Queen, would be a excellent game to update for the Switch. It could bring some strategy gameplay, and it still has a lot of good features I think would hold up today.
So Joe Lockhart said, should the online service adopt the Netflix model? Play any title over Wi-Fi? I don't know if that is going to be a priority for Nintendo. I know streaming games over the internet isn't that big right now. I doubt Nintendo would really commit resources to something like that.
But should they, is what he's asking.
I don't think it's something they should prioritize.
Okay.
I feel like they should definitely focus on their online stability, their online infrastructure for performance, and all of the friend and matchmaking setup for their online service.
Okay.
I don't feel like playing games over Wi-Fi or streaming games from a cloud service is really taking off that much, and it shouldn't really be a priority unless it's really been proven as a model for video games.
Okay. I think that they, more than a Netflix model, I think that they should at least follow the PlayStation Plus model. And honestly, I think the only reason they're not doing it is because people would think that they're just copying. It's like Nintendo can't say, we're just doing that great PlayStation Plus model. We want to copy it. But I think it is a really solid model. And for those who are unfamiliar, if you have PlayStation Plus, every month, in addition to like deals and stuff and other little features, you would get one game that becomes available every month that you're a member, but you don't lose it at the end of the month. As long as you maintain a subscription, every month's free game is added to your library and you can keep playing them. Again, though, if you ever stop the subscription, you would lose access to all those games. And I don't even think you could get them back after that, even if like you resubscribed.
Right. And I actually really like that model. That the PlayStation Plus model is a great way to give games to the community while adding even more value to your subscription service. And it's also a really good incentive to keep people subscribed to your service over the long run. So I think it works in multiple ways.
All right. And finally, Toad of Sky wrote us, do you see compilations like Namco Museum or Secret of Mana being a way to bypass bothering with the virtual console and being better? I think so.
I think, yeah, I can see the compilations being really nice alternatives to the virtual console, but I feel like they are probably going to release a virtual console anyway.
Yeah, right. They will. I mean, this is a good way. Like I said, all these Neo Geo games are pretty much a virtual console. It's probably just a clever way for, like you said, I think it's a clever way for them to bypass whatever restrictions or rules they have to have for being on the actual virtual console and get out there a little earlier.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the virtual console is going to have a more curated schedule. And by sending out compilations like the Namco Museum or Secret of Mana, the publishers have more control over that release schedule than Nintendo directly.
Yeah.
So that's an option for them.
It works out for us. And yeah, I think we like what they're doing so far. And honestly, what's virtual console other than a category on an eShop menu? Like, really,
exactly. What's
the difference?
Now, I do have to say, Casey.
Yes.
I've been rating this person's name for a while, and I've always pronounced it as Todovsky.
Yes, I have too until today. I called it, maybe he's Toad of Sky. Like, I still say Todovsky, yeah.
Todovsky, that's what I see every time. As a final note to our community pulse, we got an interesting follow-up to last week's development topic. So Bucky Price said, "Good afternoon. On your last episode, you mentioned a couple guys wanted to put together an indie team for making a game. I'm a creative writer and would like to lend my talents. If interested, let me know." So that's really cool.
Yeah, right. I think we're getting a little bit of a, some people are being drawn together like the stars of destiny.
Though I don't know. Writers, talent, I don't know if writers really have talents or anything like that.
You really want to know what a smack feels like through the internet, don't you? You're really trying to.
So I'm totally kidding. I think creative writing is actually a really fundamental aspect of certain teams, depending on what genre you're exploring. And I love that you guys are so inspired to form a team and to get together to make a game. And if there's anything we can do on our side to facilitate that, let us know. Email us. I believe it was the Gonzalez brothers last time.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And now Bucky. Let's see what we can do to get you guys together.
I'll say definitely if you guys want to come to the chat room, and if you want to come on the Discord chat, it's a great place to meet up. I would highly encourage it. And I would even be happy to, if you all show up, I'll make a special channel for basically a dev team. and you can either go in there and, chat either in private or allow people to kind of like chime in and contribute and see what your ideas are. And I think it might be a good starting ground. And then maybe you can go off and start planning things on your own. But definitely come to the Discord chat as a great way to get the gears turning and start talking and meeting with other people who are interested in doing this.
Yeah, I think having a channel for content creators would be a good idea.
Yeah, sounds good. And you know what's another good idea?
What else?
Ending the show.
Oh, come on. We can't record forever, Casey.
I don't have that much data on my PC, so
yeah,
has to stop here. But I'll end this episode with a few good old-fashioned reminders and public service announcements. A, if you like the show and you want to support us, please visit us at patreon.com/theswitchcast, where you can pledge your support. As little as $1 a month goes a long way to keeping the lights on, paying for our servers, and upgrading our equipment to do more awesome stuff. And a lot of you have been answering the call this past week, so I really, really thank you guys. It's been amazing, and just keep it going. If you're someone who's listening, start with $1, and if you really think it's worth it, you can up it in the future. And as we mentioned before, there's the Amazon link on the homepage at theswitchcast.com, and anytime you're buying from Amazon, just go there through that link. It'll help us out, and it costs you nothing. And another way that can help us out, costing you nothing, is to visit us on the podcast app or on Google Play or any of those things and give us a review on iTunes or whatever, and that helps more people find us. Of course, we also have the Instagram.com/theswitchcast. We have @theswitchcast on Twitter. We have a Facebook group, and we have the SwitchCast friend code list, which is all linked to in the show notes, so you can add everybody else who is an avid fan of playing these games and meet lots of people who can Mario Kart with you or play whatever else. And as always, thank you, Essa, for the music, and stay tuned after the ending if you want to hear a special message from Sergio about our great Mario Kart tournament. Until next time,
switch it up.
Hello, KC and JB from the SwitchCast. This is Sergio ALB64 from the community. The first Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tournament just ended, and I wanted to give a big shout out to winner Lord Bones, and especially to anyone that participated, playing, chatting, voice chatting, watching the stream, anything. It was a great success. Had a lot of fun with everyone, and I just want to pass it on. Like Chef Chuck Price said, this is more than a little community. We have a family in the making, and really, it's all thanks to you. So, KC, JB, thank you, and switch it up.